Alright guys, hi, it's Kevin with Gopherlax, and today we're going over the composite review of the 4 Faceoff heads that I've looked at, played with, reviewed: the Mark IIF, the Command X, the STX Dual with Endurofoam, and finally the Brian Dictator ST. Now I have all the sticks in front of me except for the Dictator ST because someone made me an offer I couldn't refuse on it, so I had to get rid of it. Alright, so it's important to remember that all four of these face-off heads are good. So if I say I like one better than the other, it doesn't mean those others are complete junk. Each one of these heads has different aspects for a different type of face-off guy. If you're more of an aggressive, grinded out face-off guy, there's some heads that are going to be more useful for you that if you're just a quick pinch and pop and go, little flexible heads more going to be useful to you. So, like I said, let's go back to offensive heads. My buddy Kyle is a diehard centric fan. I personally can't stand that head. It just doesn't work for me. I'm a stallion fan. He doesn't like that head. Again, each person's unique to their playing style and their preference. So I'm just trying to give you a wide range of info on these so you can make your own decision. All right, and again, these are based solely off of my observation. So we went over created 7 categories to review these on. Each head gets a 1 to 4 point scale on that, 1 being the worst, 4 being the best. So for example, let's go over the scoop. So I took all the scoops, rolled out ground balls in the grass on cold, wet, dry, patchy grass, wanted to see which one over time would scoop up the ground balls with the least amount of effort. So starting off, the one that had the best scoop, the Mark IIF, sucked up all the ground balls with ease, so I gave that a rating of 4. Coming in at number 2 behind that, get out of here, the STX Dual with the Endurofoam. The scoop is not as good as the other STX heads, but for a face-off head, not bad. Coming in at number 3 was the Brian Dictator. So I don't have that, so if I had it be like holding right here, like, hey, Brian Dictator. And that was the one that I had strung with the fire mesh reversed on it. That scoop folded a little more than the STX head, so that's why 2. And the Dictator was number 3. And finally, the lowest rated scoop on this was the Command. Now, is that to say that there's such a night and day difference between the scoop on this and this? No. Based off my personal experience, it was easier to scoop balls with the 2F than the Command. Doesn't make it a bad scoop. It's not saying that this is the Jewel Aries of scoops. Not at all. Very good scoop, just compared to the others. Alright, so next step, stiffness. How stiff is the head? I know in time, through baking, boiling, just use, all the heads are going to soften and become a little more malleable. But I didn't bake, didn't boil, didn't do anything to these heads, so this is just off of pulling it out of the box, stringing it up, and playing with it. The strongest head, or the stiffest head that I have, is the Command X. I gave that 4 points. Now it's got the smaller side rail here, but it having this scalloped part here gave it a lot of strength. So if you're a face-off guy that's really going to grind it out, this is something to consider. Number 2 on that, the Dual. Now, that's, again, not to say that the third one, the Mark IIF, is that much weaker than the Dual. The Dual just had a little more strength. Now, the Dictator ST was probably a little more along the lines of the Mark IIF, I just found that it started to cant a lot easier on face-offs than these. You really had to wrench it back. And again, I used the ST, not the normal version. Alright, so gone over those two. Let's go over the third one that I put, just pure stringability. So for the pure stringability, the first one I gave was the Dictator. Had a great amount of sidewalls, easy to string up even with them skipping the one sidewall to fill it in to create a little strength point on that. Easy enough. The second one, as I'm looking at my notes, the Mark IIF. Again, the String King head, lots of holes. If you have problems stringing it, you should not be playing lacrosse. The third, the Dual. And the Dual, I only knocked it because of the lack of stringing holes. I understand that they did that to create strength in the head, but I could have used one or two more. And finally, the one I rated lowest on the stringability, because it's the most difficult to string, is the Command X. Again, not knocking the head. You just have to play with your stringing pattern a lot because it's asymmetrical. The holes on this side of the head, the pinchier, the one with the scallop side, do not line up to the holes on the other side, so it takes a little time. I would suggest trying the knot mesh, since it's an asymmetrical mesh. It may work well. Or even what I might do in the future, string this up with trad, and it probably won't be as much of an issue. Alright, so the next one is the aesthetics. So the aesthetics of a head, how does it look? With that, I gave a 4 to the Command X. I've always liked the face shape and style of the Command line of heads, and this one doesn't deviate from that, so I gave it a 4. Again, purely judgmental. The number 2 on that is the Dual. Obviously, I mean, I'm a big STX guy. I like the STX profile of the face shape, and that fell over. The Dual keeps that superpower style face shape, so I gave that. Coming in at number 3, the Mark IIF. Again, not much of a difference between this. I just like the aesthetics of this one slightly more. And finally, the Dictator. And the Dictator, I didn't rate it as higher than the other ones because I think it still has more of that epic hawk or prequel face shape, where it flares out in the top third, that I just wasn't a fan on a face-off head. So, going back to our rankings, the next one up is offensive rating. What's that? Simple. You win the face-off and you're running down the field. The last thing you want to be doing is shooting with a stick that you have no idea where it's going to go. Is the stick going to keep its shape? It's going to allow you to pass and shoot well. For that, I rated the 2F the highest, just for the fact that it plays exactly like the 2V I have. So, just based on that, I feel comfortable winning a face-off and moving down the field and being able to pass or shoot equally well. Coming in at number 2, the Dual. The Dual, it doesn't have the same release and passing, I feel, as the 2F, so you're splitting hairs, like, 1A, 1B, still number 2. Going back to the next one is the Dictator. Unfortunately, that's not here right now, so it's a good offensive based head. It's easy to catch with, it's easy to pass with, it's easy to shoot with. And then bringing up the rear, the Dictator, or the Command X. And that's just due to the release it gets from the pocket. Since it's asymmetrical, it comes off slightly offline, so you really have to crank through on your passes or your shooting to get it to sail on point. And again, these are minor issues. Alright, so let's go back to the D rating. So what's this? You lose the face-off and you have to hustle back on D. Which one of these is going to provide you with the strength to poke check, lift check, scoop up a ground ball, and go? I had the top rated one for D, the stiffest one in the Command X. I did knock the scoop on it, but the fact that it is so stiff, it's not going to wobble at all when you poke, you lift. It's going to, it's going to hurt. It's going to leave a mark. Number 2 on that, the dual. The Command X and the Mark V or the Mark IIF have that shorter throat. The dual, while it being a little heavier, just due to the throat plug, provides a little more structure and a little more oomph on it. So I rated that number 2. The 3rd place, the 2F, and the 4th place I rated the Dictator, and that's only because it's on the softer side. So when you went to lift check or poke check, the head would slightly cant, not give you that force to be able to really pop the guy's arm up and off the ball. So that brings us to our final attribute, and it's going to be durability. Which one of these do I think is going to last the longest? Now, I went with the dual as being the head that's going to last longest. Again, this is the one with the Adora form. This isn't the normal one. But just having the added structure of the throat plug to give it a little more sturdiness over time, I wasn't sure of how the Command and the 2F would be with that that shorter throat over time. I can easily come back and revisit this if the dual cracks on me and these two survive. And again, with the Dictator being the softer of the heads, I could see in the summer you have to do a lot of work in order to maintain the head shape on that. And jumping back, I actually made a mistake with the dual and the Dictator. I have the Dictator rated above the dual on the offensive side, so slight issue on that. But what it came out to, and I mean, these 3 heads were separated by a point or 2. Again, it's not to knock the Dictator as well. The Dictator's a good head, especially at the price point that it's at there. These 3 heads were a point difference between them. So it's not to say one is better than the other. They're more of the style that you play. So if you're more of a grinded out face-off guy, I think the Command X would be ideal for you. If you're a quicker pinch and pop and trying to get the ball out and up the field quickly, these two would rate higher than you. So what it came down to is, out of a 70-point total, the dual scored 20 points. Coming in number 2 at 19 points was the 2F, 18 points, the Command X, and the Dictator came in with 13 points. All 4 good face-off heads. If you have questions, hit me up below. Fire away whatever you have, and look into the future. Hopefully sometime this fall we'll do some other face-off heads. But on that, I may have a new line of reviews coming up in a month or so. Talk to you guys later.